The person who betrayed you just did you the biggest favor of your life. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why. Right now, a face just came to mind. You did not choose for it to arrive. This video called it forward. Someone who had everything. Your trust, your time, your most unguarded self. Someone who knew exactly where you were vulnerable and chose that precise place to aim. And what they did left a mark that is still there, not just on what happened, on how trust feels now, on how quickly the door closes when someone new gets too close, on the version of yourself that existed before that moment, the one who believed differently and has not fully come back since. Here is what nobody says out loud about betrayal. The pain is not the worst part. The worst part is the question that follows it. What does it say about me that I trusted them? That question does more damage than the betrayal itself, and it is completely, provably, scientifically wrong. Before I go further, one word in the comments, right now. The name does not matter. Just one word for what the betrayal felt like the moment it became real. Drop it below. I read every single one. In 2019, neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman at UCLA published research that changed how scientists understand what betrayal actually does to the human brain. His finding was this: the brain processes social betrayal in the exact same neural region that processes being physically stabbed. Not similar, identical. The anterior cingulate cortex, the region that fires when a bone breaks or a wound opens, fires with the same measurable intensity when someone trusted chooses to harm. This is why betrayal does not feel like a bad experience. It feels like an injury, because neurologically it is one. But here is what Lieberman's research also found, the part that changes everything. The brain's response to betrayal does not stop at pain. It triggers what neuroscientists call a social recalibration process, an automatic, involuntary, extraordinarily sophisticated system that uses the data of the betrayal to completely rebuild the person's ability to read people, detect deception, and identify genuine connection versus performed connection. In plain language, the betrayal upgraded the system. The person who trusted the wrong person once and survived it emerges with neurological capabilities for reading people that the person who was never betrayed will never develop. Not because the pain was deserved, because the brain, in its extraordinary drive toward the survival of the person it inhabits, refused to waste the data. Think about the most accurate read of a person that has ever been made. The moment someone was seen clearly before they showed who they really were, and something inside already knew. That instinct did not exist before the betrayal. The betrayal built it. The hidden truth. Now here is the part that is going to be hardest to receive, and the most important. Psychologist John Cacioppo at the University of Chicago tracked the same people for 20 years after significant betrayal events. What his data showed consistently, across cultures, across age groups, across every demographic, was this: people who experienced serious betrayal and processed it, rather than suppressing it, showed measurably better life outcomes in 3 specific areas than people who had not been seriously betrayed. The first area was relationship quality. After betrayal, people became dramatically better at choosing who to trust. Not more closed, more accurate. The betrayal had destroyed naivety and replaced it with discernment, the ability to feel the difference between someone who is performing connection and someone who is genuinely offering it. The relationships that came after the betrayal were fewer, and they were real in a way that nothing before was real. The second area was personal clarity. Betrayal strips away everything that was built to maintain the relationship that ended, the compromises, the performances, the version of self constructed around someone else's needs. When that person leaves, all of it goes with them. And what remains in the silence after the betrayal is the clearest, most unfiltered, most genuinely personal sense of self that most people have ever had. Not because they chose to find it, because the betrayal left nothing else to hide behind. The third area, and this is the one that silences people when they finally see it, was directional accuracy. Cacioppo's data showed that people consistently reported years after the betrayal that the removal of the person who hurt them had redirected their life toward paths, purposes, and relationships that were more aligned with who they actually were than the trajectory they had been on before. The universe, it appears, sometimes uses the people who hurt the most to do the redirecting that gentler methods could not accomplish. Pause here for a second. Think about where life was headed when that person was in it. Then think about where it went after. If the direction that opened after the betrayal turned out to be better than the one that was closed, drop that in the comments. Even one sentence. Because someone watching this right now is still in the dark of the betrayal. They cannot yet see the other side. Your comment might be the thing that shows them it exists. Before the final part, one moment. This content takes significant time and research to create. If it has reached something real today, please consider supporting this work. Scan the QR code on screen or find the link in the pinned comment. A free companion, PDF, with the full written exercises for this video is also in the pinned comment. Download it, the most important work happens there. And for anyone carrying a betrayal so heavy that a personal blueprint is needed, private readings are available through the link in the description. Now, the most important thing. The turning point. Here is the hardest truth about betrayal, and the one that heals the most. The betrayer did not have the power to end anything that was genuinely meant to stay. Real relationships built on authentic reciprocity, on genuine mutual respect, on the kind of foundation that holds under pressure, do not end when one person reveals their true character. They recalibrate. What betrayal ends are relationships that were already built on something compromised, on performance, on imbalance, on the specific configuration of need and provision that allowed one person to be trusted far beyond what they had earned. The betrayer did not destroy something solid. They revealed that the foundation was never as solid as it appeared, and that revelation, as devastating as it was, is one of the most valuable pieces of information that could have been received about the relational patterns being carried. Because the real question the betrayal is asking beneath the pain, beneath the anger, is not, why did they do this? The real question is, what in me allowed someone like that to get that close? That is not a question of blame. It is a question of pattern recognition. And pattern recognition, seeing clearly the specific ways certain people were given access to the most unguarded parts, is the most protective, most life-directing skill that the betrayal, if worked with honestly, is capable of producing. The practice. There is one exercise done once with complete honesty that begins to transform the betrayal from a wound into a resource. It is called the 4 questions. Take a piece of paper. Answer these 4 things. Honestly, do not edit, do not perform, do not make the answers sound more evolved than they feel. Question 1. What did the betrayal take? Not what the person took, what the betrayal itself removed from the life, the future, the sense of self. Name it specifically. Question 2. Where was life headed when this person was in it? Not who they presented themselves to be, where the relationship was actually taking things. What was being compromised? What version of self was being performed? What direction was being locked into? Question 3. What has become visible about life, about self, about what is actually wanted that was not visible before the betrayal? Something always becomes visible. It may only be a direction, a feeling, a pull towards something that was not there before. Write whatever is present. Question 4. What is the one pattern, the specific way of trusting or giving access that needs to change going forward? Not as punishment, as the upgrade that the betrayal's data is making possible. Do these 4 questions. Read the answers back. The answer to question 3 is the gift. It arrived in the worst packaging imaginable, but it was always a gift. One last question for the comments, and this one is the most important one in this video. What has become visible about life, or self, or direction that was not visible before the betrayal happened? Even one word, even one sentence. Because the person reading the comments who is still inside the betrayal needs to see what is waiting on the other side. Post it below. The person who betrayed, they did not win. They were used. Used by something larger than their intention to clear a path that could not have been cleared any other way. Because here is the truth about the life that was being lived before the betrayal. It was too small. Not because of failure, not because of weakness, but because the relationship that just ended, the one that hurt so deeply, was quietly, consistently, invisibly keeping things at a size that was beneath what was actually possible. The betrayal did not close a chapter. It closed a cage. And the chapter that is being written now, in the silence after the betrayal, in the clarity that the wound left behind, in the direction that only became visible when the wrong person finally left. That chapter is the one that was always meant to be written. The betrayal was not the worst thing that happened. It was the turning point that everything after will be built from. If this reached something real, if a name came to mind in the first 10 seconds, and something shifted by the last word, send this to one person who is still inside the betrayal and cannot yet see the other side. Not to fix them, not to give them answers, just to show them that the other side exists. The free PDF with the 4 questions is in the pinned comment. Download it. The real work begins there. Subscribe. The next message goes even deeper.